So Gemini had to go to the boatyard. This short video is a whirlwind summary of 5 weeks on the hard at Keehi Marine Center in Honolulu, Hawaii. It had been a few years, and I was really putting off hauling out. But I noticed some problems below the waterline, so it couldn't be put off anymore. Of course, when you're hauled out, it's a little bit more work than expected. The first thing to do when the boat is hauled out is to pressure wash the hull and take a good close look. I knew there were some deep gouges in the hull at the waterline from a close encounter with a broken dock. That's going to need to be fixed. There's probably going to be some blisters too. There usually are a few. The question is how many and how bad. One thing we noticed is how bad the rudder looks. The original wood rudder on this classic 1964 Albo 35 was patched up at the last haul out. But it looks like there's some serious wood rot, and we're going to be better off just building a new one. To keep costs to a minimum, we're doing as much as we can of the work ourselves. But for some of the work, we need to hire the pros. I'm contracting with Josh and Chelsea at Woodward Yachts to build a new rudder and recondition the hull. While Josh and Chelsea's crew are taking care of the dirty work, the engine raw water seatcock is totally corroded, so that needs to be replaced, along with a shiny new bronze raw water strainer. Gemini's old-style barrel valves for the galley sink and head are still in good shape, but they need to be serviced and cleaned. You got the working party here.
Yeah, some of it's coming off easy, but Gil's got the hard part over there.
We're also putting in a new depth sounder transducer. The old one Gemini had stopped working, so we're removing it, patching the hole, and properly installing the new one on the valve. This thing is replacing the transducer we used to have on the side of the hull. We're going to drill a hole right here. With the hull grinded down, we're able to really check for blisters. This is where water has seeped through the layers of the fiberglass in the hull. So we're going to grind that out. There are a few blisters on Gemini's hull, so they need to be grinded out, cleaned, and filled in with epoxy paste. All the repairs to the hull are done with West System epoxy, mixing resin, slow hardener, and filler to make a paste that just gets smeared into the voids, making the hull as strong as ever. The same epoxy paste is also used to bond, build up, and laminate the synthetic foam material that's used to make a boot for the new depth sounder transducer. Meanwhile, the work continues with the new rudder. We're extracting the bronze skeleton from the old rudder and using it as a template to make the new one out of epoxy and fiberglass reinforced synthetic foam. What kind of foam is this again? Kusa board. Instead of wood. We're making sure the rudder fits perfect before fully laminating it. The most tedious part of this haul out is prepping the hull for new paint. We got to get all this old flaking paint off and get the hull sanded down to the old bare crazed gel coat. So we're giving Gemini a complete new paint job. All the paint used to look like this. And so this is the last little bit of this that we're going to sand off. And we're going to get it all down to the bare gel coat. So now that our epoxy is dried, now we just have to sand it, make sure it's nice and smooth. All 60 of these that we patched, we're going to have to sand. It's time to put in the new depth sounder transducer. Sealing it in good with caulking, it sits just right in the new boot that we made. Once all the old paint is sanded off, the hull is wiped clean and we roll on a few coats of epoxy prime coat, filling the old crazed gel coat to make a good foundation for the top coat. The prime coat has to be thoroughly sanded smooth between coats. With the boat out and drying for a while now, it's time to investigate the main reason why we hauled out. One of the scuppers seemed to have delaminated from the hull, so I got to climb under the cockpit, grind down, clean up and dry the suspected area, and relaminate it with epoxy. It's messy work in a tight space. Finally, the 2 coats of epoxy prime coat have been sanded smooth and wiped clean. It's time to apply the shiny top coat. If you're going to go to all this trouble, you might as well use the best, so we're using All Grip 2-part polyurethane paint. Chelsea is a pro at rolling and tipping, and we apply 3 coats on the hull, sanding and scuffing between coats until we get a nice shiny final coat. With the All Grip dry, it's time to finish up the bottom. We sanded all the blister patches smooth, and so now we have to apply 2-part epoxy barrier coat and bottom paint. With the new rudder installed and final coated with epoxy laminate paste, we also apply epoxy barrier coat and bottom paint. The bottom paint has to go on at a certain time interval, so we put the last coat of paint on at night in the dark. At last, the fun part, painting the new depth sounder transducer and pulling the masking tape off the waterline. I hope I measured it right.